Hey guys, welcome back to Recreational Sniper. We're going to look at 10 meter drop charts now. You guys have seen the 100-meter ones. I've changed these a little bit, kind of color coded them a little different and that sort of thing. It's not super important. You can kind of mess with these and make them however you see fit and make them in the way that makes sense for you. But 10-meter charts would be infinitely more accurate and quick to use interpolation wise. But the downside to having 10-meter charts is that it's a lot more paper if you print them off. And so you would have to bring like a binder with you out into the field wherever wherever you're hunting or shooting or operating if that's something you do. So, but I'll show you how this works. So in the old school way of using the 100-meter charts, we would have to do what's called interpolation, which is a more or less mathematical educated guess. And it's a math process that basically scientists and stuff use to fix math problems. Anyways, if we were going to shoot 940 meters here and with our 100-meter increment charts, we would have to look at the 900 meter value and the 1000 meter value and say we're looking in this 80-degree column here. We would take our 1000 meter drop, which would be 14.3 mils, and we would subtract our 900 meter drop, and it would give us 2.5 mils, and then we would take 2.5 and multiply that by zero point 0.4. And the reason why is because we're going 940 and it's 40% of the way in between 900 and 1000. It's 40% of that 100-meter difference. So we'd multiply that by 0 0.4 and we'd get 1 mil there. And you would either from there go two different ways. You would take that 1 mil and add it back to 11.8, or you would take that 1 mil and subtract it from the 14.3. But as you can see here, if we take that 1 mil and we add it back to 11.8, it gives us 12.8 mils of drop. And if we look at our 10-meter chart for 940, it's 12.7. So that is pretty dang close for interpolation. I don't think you can mathematically do that any better. And as far as interpolation goes, that's the way you would do it. If you did it the other way, it would be incorrect. You would have subtracted 1 mil from 14.3 and you would have got 13.3. And let's see what happens. Basically, you would have overshot your target, and you would have overshot your target by 5 mils, or zero point 0.5 mils, sorry, half a mil. And at this range, that is in the area of like 45 centimeters, which I don't off the top of my head know what that converts to in inches, but it's quite a lot. That's a pretty significant miss. It definitely, if you were shooting at an animal that far away, it would put you outside of the vital zone. Even a tenth of a mil at this range, we're talking zero point 0.9 centimeters, 0.94 centimeters. Like at 1,000 meters, it'd be 10 centimeters for every click on the scope. So if you miss it, say we dialed to 12.8, because that's what our interpolation dictated, we would be shooting a tenth of a mil high technically for a target at 940 meters. Uh, so we would shoot 0.94 centimeters high, or 9.4 centimeters high. Uh, so I'm not sure exactly, again, how many inches that is, but it's a pretty significant amount. Depending on the size of the animal, that may or may not put you outside of the vital zone radius, and may or may not result in a wound on an animal. And speaking of hunting at that range, you really need to consider your flight time. We're looking at 1.822 seconds that far away, which is more than enough time for an animal to just take a step or two and basically the vital zone that you're trying to hit is now not in the flight path of the bullet at all, and you could just easily wound the animal, and it can run off. And again, it's 940 meters away from you, so if you wound it and it takes off running, um, there's as time goes on, the chances significantly increase that you will not recover that animal, or the recovery process will be very, very difficult, especially if you're in like mountainous terrain or something. So, for me personally, as far as hunting purposes go, I think 1 second of flight time or less. So 1 second of flight time is still enough that the animal could move and could result in a wounding shot again, but you've got a little higher chance of that not happening, as say if it's a deer grazing or something like that. But and even then you're still at 1 second, like you can see here that you're still in like shooting around 600 yards or 600 meters, which is a very, very long shot. um, you know a lot of people like to brag and stuff that they've shot animals that far away, or that they've hunted deer and killed deer at that range. But the reality is that most people don't really realize exactly how far 600 meters or 600 yards or whatever is, until you set up a target out there and go to shoot it, and then also think that your vital zone radius on a deer is only like 4 inches, maybe 5 inches. So basically, you're trying to hit a target that is 10 inches in diameter at that range. You're gonna have to be a pretty darn good shot. You're looking about 1 3/4 minute of angled target size. So if you're shooting at 100 yards or whatever with your deer rifle, and you cannot keep every round within 1 3/4 inches on that paper at 100 yards, you probably have no business trying to hunt a deer at 600 yards. So that's just the reality. And then that target size gets infinitely smaller the further you get out. So like at 900 yards or 900 meters or whatever, um, your vital zone radius is now 1 minute of angle. So about the equivalent of being able to hit a 1 inch target at 100 yards. So if you cannot keep all of your rounds every time you take your rifle out and shoot it, and if you cannot keep every bullet within that inside that 1 inch diameter circle at 100 yards, you really have no business trying to shoot a deer at over 1,000 yards, because at 1,000 yards, your vital zone is only going to be about that big. It's going to be, it's roughly 10 inches or so, but that at that distance, that is 1 minute of angle or less. So you know that's what I'm just trying to say. And you can argue with me all you want, but if you don't get in your vital zone and make a clean shot on that deer, and it just takes off running friggin' another 900 meters in the opposite direction, then that's on you. Now you've got to go find it and hike that deer out. And well, let's just face the reality. Most people are not, most people are too lazy to go do that, and they'll just call it a loss and not even look for the darn thing because it ran off and went way too far. And I just don't believe in that. It's not ethical, in my opinion. So 1 second of flight time or less is what I would say would be comfortable. And as far as range goes, and then your vital zone being around 2 minutes of angle, 1 3/4 2 minutes of angle, because most deer rifles have that accuracy capability. um, I've got a couple rifles that, like my 6.5 PRC, I have on multiple occasions taken it to the range and shot 20 shot groups. I'm talking 20 shots in a row in one group. And I have at least two, maybe three 20 shot groups that measure under a half of an inch. So, that to me is a half-minute rifle. Okay, if it can consistently do that on multiple times, different days, that's a half-minute rifle. Now I've got my 6.5 Creedmoor on the other hand. Depending on the ammo I'm shooting out of it and stuff, even with the same ammo, sometimes it shoots about an inch at 100 yards. Sometimes it shoots about an inch and a quarter. So what I would say that rifle's accuracy is about an inch and a quarter. It's going to be whatever the biggest group is. That is the accuracy of that rifle. Some firearms manufacturers, well, maybe not some, maybe most, try to claim that their rifles they guarantee a 1 minute of angle shot, and but the deal is that is with a single particular single particular ammunition choice there in selection. It's not with all ammunition, and it's in a specific set of conditions as well. And so, yeah, it is capable of shooting 1 minute of angle, but also what that means is that they shot several groups with this rifle, and they guarantee that it can shoot 1 minute of angle or 1 inch at 100 yards. But the reality is, they shot, say, 20 different groups, and maybe only one or two of those fell under that inch, right? And then there were several on the outside of it. So, yes, the rifle can shoot an inch, but it's not doing it every time, and that's the reality of these gun manufacturers is a lot of them lie about it just to make sales on firearms. And now, if you get into your high-end custom manufactured guns, like from like GA Precision or something like that, and you're spending $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 on a rifle, and they guarantee you that it's a 3/4 minute gun. Chances are it's a 3/4 minute gun. Chances are, with their testing, that gun will consistently produce 3/4 minute groups, kind of like my 6.5 PRC. But my that PRC is in that same boat. It's a custom built rifle, custom barrel, that sort of thing, and it's not really a hunting gun. That gun weighs like 24 pounds, so I don't, it's not something I would take hunting with. But it's extremely accurate, and I know that it will shoot half minute. Now I have shot a couple groups outside of it, like 0.6 minutes of angle, about zero point 0.6 inches or so. I have not shot a 3/4 minute group with it yet. I did when I was testing some load development, but that's a different thing, trying to find the right seating depth and that sort of thing for a particular bullet, and the right powder charge and stuff. You're going to have wacky groups. You're going to have stuff sometimes that looks like shotgun patterning on your targets, even at 100 meters. But when you get it dialed in, they really, really shoot. But that's just what I wanted to kind of go over today is like you guys out there, long range hunters and stuff, need to really consider the potential for loss. Like the further you go out in distance, the higher the chances and probability are that you're not going to make a clean kill. It just it gets to the point at some point out here, you know, that your chances, your probability of making a clean kill get really, really small. Like say even at 600 yards, say you've got a 70% chance of hitting the vital zone with your rifle, depending on conditions and stuff. 70%, that means 30%, 3 out of 10 shots will not actually hit the vital zone and will result in a wound. And say at 1,000 yards, that drops to like 40% chance. Depending on your confidence and depending on how tight of a group your gun really shoots, will depend on, will dictate the probability of actually making a good clean kill on a deer. So hunting deer at 1,000 yards is extremely overrated and not ethical in my opinion, because there's just too many variables that could result in a a wounding kill, if not even a total miss, because that is a really really long shot. I mean, a deer could just duck his head down or move a couple steps or turn its body in a different direction before the bullet even got there, and you could totally just miss a deer at 1,000 meters, no problem. Like there's two seconds of flight time there on this for this particular. Of course, that's with this particular loading and whatnot, and we got a pretty low velocity. But even if we were running 3,000 feet per second out of like a super mag rifle or something, one of them like 300 ultra mags or some crap. Uh, Even then, we're still going to be a 1.5 to 1 3/4 second flight time at 1,000 meters. It doesn't really change that much, which 1.5 seconds, plenty of time to screw up and miss because the deer just decided to move. They are animals, they are conscious, and they do decide to do things sometimes that are unpredictable. So, there you go. That is our 10-meter increment charts. We'll get into some other stuff at a later time, but I want to thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time in the next video.